not.
Alright, we're good.
I'm waiting on this part.
Okay.
We are live. Okay, here we go. Yeah. We are doing
Jonestown Massacre.
Yes. Jonestown Massacre. Okay, so
It's a mass murder-suicide. As we drink our Kool-Aid.
yes, we have Kool-Aid today.
This was in 1978.
This is the year I was born.
That's not too long ago.
No,
not at all.
huh? 918 people perished.
Wow.
Yeah.
So,
Good Kool-Aid, right?
Yeah. Now, was this by like one person or was this by a group of people?
This is a kind of a cult. He started a church on property leased.
it was called the People's Temple what do you call agriculture? Agricultural project.
He signed a release saying that they'd grow stuff and take care of the property and everything.
Yeah, with all three of us on there. It's better known as its former Jonestown, which is like a remote settlement.
It was November 18, 1978.
Yeah, and it was in Guyana, established by the People's Temple. It was an American religious cult under the leadership of Jim Jones. Jonestown actually became internationally famous when on November 18, 1970, and a total of 918 people died at the settlement at the nearby airstrip and Port Curaçao at a temple-run building in Georgetown, Guyana's capital city. The name of the settlement became synonymous with the incidents at those locations. A total of 909 individuals.
300 of them were under the age of 17.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Isn't that sad?
That's very sad.
And they died in Jonestown itself. All but two from apparent to cyanide poisoning. Cyanide. A significant number of whom were injected against their will. Jones and some People's Temple members referred to as the revolutionary suicide on an audio tape of the event. Now this guy, he kind of reminds me of like Elvis in a way, when he's not Elvis.
Yeah.
Now, he looks like the priest that was on the original Amityville.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what he looks like.
Yeah, that was a
But
good one.
he forced them to take tests. They never knew when they were going to get the real deal. But he did like trial, like drills.
Yeah. Yep.
So they never knew if they were going to drop then. And then when they finally did it, the ones that decided they didn't want to do it, he held them at gunpoint and made them take the Kool-Aid.
Yep.
And a lot of children died during this.
Yeah, the ones that weren't going to drink it, they shot.
Wow.
Yeah. And anyone that tried to get away decided last minute they gunned them down.
Yep.
It's crazy.
70 or more individuals at Jonestown were injected with poison. A third of the victims were minors, and armed guards had been ordered to shoot anyone who attempted to flee the settlement as Jones lobbied for suicide. But they called it the mass suicide.
I don't know how they could say it was a suicide, seeing how they were forced to do it.
Yeah.
Well, his eyes was all suicide. The movement purported to practice what is called apostolic socialism. In doing so, the temple preached that those who remained drugged with the opiate of their religion to be brought to Enlightenment socialism. Wow. He held an interest in Joseph Stalin and Adolf Hitler from a young age. So what does that tell you?
Wow, yeah.
He's a little bit of a nutball.
Mm-hmm.
After Jones received considerable criticism in Indiana for his views, the temple moved to Redwood Valley, California at 65, and in the early 70s, Temple opened other branches in Los Angeles and San Francisco, and would eventually move its headquarters to San Francisco. So, but when they moved there, the politic involvement increased high levels of approval from the local government. So obviously they didn't know exactly what he was
Up to.
probably going. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this you reading here?
Yeah. You can.
Okay.
I'm down a little bit.
Okay. Yeah, it does kind of resemble Elvis a little bit.
You can throw those where you want. So in the fall of 73, a critical newspaper article by Lester and the defection of 8 Temple members, Jones and Temple attorney Stephen Stone prepared for an immediate action contingency plan for responding to a police or media crackdown, which listed for various options, including fleeing to Canada or a Caribbean missionary post, such as Barbados or Trinidad.
Wow.
They chose Guyana, conducting research as its economy and extradition treaties within the United States. In October of 73, the directors of Temple passed a resolution to establish an agriculture mission there.
I can't believe all this. This is a lot. It's intense.
That's crazy. The Temple chose Guyana in part because of the group's own social politics, which were moving further to the left during this election process. So, oh shoot. Oh man. My notes just went blank.
You want this one?
No, we're good.
Said it took 500 members to do the construction for it.
I gotta pull my notes back up. Hopefully they didn't write something.
Now it says here that racism had a lot to do with it.
I don't know how, because it said a percentage of them were black women.
Okay, hold on, pull my stuff back up.
Yeah, it says governor, including prominent black leaders, would afford black temple members a peaceful place to live.
Before leaving Jonestown, well, the damage to an otter in Ryan, okay. Before leaving Jonestown for the airship, Ryan had told Gary that he would issue a report that would describe Jonestown basically good terms. This is like Leo Ryan. Leo Ryan. Where's it at? Yeah.
You got something different than me.
Yeah, I got it now.
I don't know, because I can't find it anywhere.
Yeah, she's on something different.
Jones' paranoia and drug increase in Jonestown as he became fearful of a government raid of the commune, citing concerns that the community would not be able to resist an attack. He made frequent addresses to Temple members regarding Jonestown's safety, including statements from the U.S. intelligence agencies for conspiring with the capitalists of pigs to destroy the settlement.
Pigs?
Yeah.
Oh, you flew way down here.
Alright.
I'm on the White Knight's 6-day siege. Yeah, right there. Okay. Jones was known to study Adolf Hitler and Father Divine to learn how to manipulate people and members of the cult. Divine told Jones personally to find an enemy and make sure they know who the enemy is, as it would unify those in the group and make them subservient to him. After work, when purported emergencies arose, the temple sometimes conducted what Jones referred to as White Nights. White Nights. During such events, Jones would call alert, alert, alert over Jonestown speakers to call the community together to the pavilion, which was surrounded by guards armed with guns and crossbows. Can you imagine that?
No
You
way.
definitely know you ain't going nowhere.
Yeah.
A revolutionary suicide.
Yeah.
How is that? Yeah, how is that suicide?
They were forced, so.
Yeah. They weren't, yeah.
I mean, I can imagine he could say that he was planning a suicide, but for us to say it later in the day, it was murder. It wasn't a suicide.
Absolutely.
But he gave us.
On several occasions, Jones gave his followers 4 options: attempt to flee the Soviet Union, commit revolutionary suicide, stay in Jonestown and fight the purported attackers, or flee into the jungle.
But who were the actual people that were supposedly going after him? Or was it in his imagination?
That was probably just like a threat, I would imagine. On at least 2 occasions during White Nights after the revolutionary suicide vote was reached, a simulated mass suicide was rehearsed. Temple Dr. Deborah Layton described the event in an affidavit. Everyone, including the children, was told to line up. As we passed through the line, we were given a small glass of red liquid to drink. We were told that the liquid contained poison and that we would die within 45 minutes. We all did as we were told. When the time came when we should have dropped dead, Reverend Jones explained that the poison was not real and that we had just been through a loyalty test. He warned us that the time was not far off when it would become necessary for us to die by our own hands.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he did drills.
He wanted to see who was loyal, who wasn't loyal.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I guess I could see where suicide comes in on that part.
Yeah. One drill lasted for 6 days, known as the 6-day siege. Can you imagine that?
That's crazy.
This ordeal was used thereafter by Jones as a symbol of the community's indomitable spirit for days on end. That would be just like exhausting.
A week.
Like not even knowing you're gonna what's gonna happen if you're gonna die. It's a 6-day siege. For days on end, frightened settlers ringed on the commune, and armed with machetes and whatever crude tools would serve as weapons surrounding them, Jones claimed with mercenaries bent on murder, as well as the abduction of Jones' son his son John Victor Stone, and others. Marceline and others outside of the commune engaged in interminable shortwave radio conversations with Jones, seeking to dissuade him from ordering a mass suicide. Panic reached such a point that an ad hoc evacuation was ordered by Jones, with dozens of settlers hastily loading onto boats.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. On the George River for purported exodus to Cuba. Several people fell into the river suffering injuries, and at last Jones bowed to pressure and the drill ended. Veterans of the siege were held in high regard in Jonestown, and in numerous addresses, Jones tearfully recalled their stoic courage on the front line. That's crazy.
The thing that's crazy about this is this was all so unnecessary. They didn't need to do this.
You're
Now
right.
that they were brainwashed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like it. It does, because
the temple had received monthly half-pound shipments of cyanide since '76. After Jones obtained a jeweler's license to buy the chemical.
So
You
for
know, they
2
claim the
years
gold.
he was collecting this?
Yeah, because he obtained a jeweler's license, so he would use that cyanide to clean it. The jewelry. That's what he was supposedly using it for.
Yeah, but
That's how
for
he got
2
it.
years he was collecting cyanide. How
Yeah.
much jewelry did they think he freaking had?
I don't know. In May 78, a temple doctor wrote a memo to Jones asking permission to test cyanide on Jonestown's pigs, as their metabolism was close to that of a human being.
Wow, that's crazy.
Ain't it?
It is.
He was nice enough to give them a sedative before they drink it.
I don't know if that was nice or not, but
I think it was actually mixed in with the liquid, so they couldn't get far when they finally dropped. If you go online, there's so many pictures of this. It's just insane how
there's
many.
also a movie about it too. I'm almost positive there's
And there's a couple books on
yeah.
survivors.
Yeah. In September of 77, because now we're to like the Stone custody dispute. We're up to that. In September 77, a formal temple members, Tim and Grace Stone, battled in Georgetown court to produce an order for the temple to show cause why a final order should not be issued returning their 5-year-old son John. A few days later, a second order was issued for John to be taken into protective custody by authorities. The fear of being held in contempt the orders caused Jones to set up a false sniper attack upon himself and began a 6-day siege.
Wow.
Yeah. The Jonestown rallies, they began to take almost surreal. The black activists and communicated. Angela Davis and Huey Newton communicated with radio, telephone, and the settlers, urging them to hold strong against the conspiracy, stating, "We will die unless we are granted freedom," and harassment in Salem. Following the 6-day siege, despite Reed's assurance, James no longer believed that Guyanese would be trusted. He directed the temple members to write over a dozen foreign governments, including inquiring about the immigration policies relevant to other exodus by the temple. Isn't that crazy?
It is. This is
So he's
intense.
trying to get everybody's okay to follow through with this.
Sharon Amos and Mike Probst and Matthew Blunt and Timothy Regan and other temple members took active roles in the Guyana-Korean Friendship Society, which sponsored 2 seminars on the revolutionary concepts of Kim Tu-sung. In April 78, a high-ranking correspondent, the Soviet News Agency, and his wife visited Jones. On October 2nd, 78, Fyodor, the Soviet consul in Georgetown, visited Jonestown for 2 days and gave a speech. He stated before the speech, "For many years we have let our sympathies be quite known publicly, and the United States government was not our mother, but that of the Soviet Union, the motherland." Both speeches were met by cheers and applause from the crowd in Jonestown.
So did this go on for years? Like, how long did this go on for?
3 years.
3 years. Wow.
Now, in late 77 and early 78, Stolens participated in meetings with other relatives of Jonestown residents, the home of Jeannie Mills and other temple defector. Together, they called themselves the Concerned Relatives. Tim Stolen engaged in letter-writing campaigns to the secret for the U.S. Secretary of State.
So that's how they got the congressmen and the reporters there that were killed in this.
Yep. And traveled to Washington, D.C. to lobby for an investigation. In 78, Stolen wrote a white paper to Congress detailing his grievances and requesting the congressman write to Vernon's 91 congressmen, including Leo Ryan, wrote such letters. Wow.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, because there was a congressman and a couple newspaper guys that got killed in this.
Reederman's subsequent story about the stolen custody battle promoted immediate threat of a lawsuit by the temple. The repercussions were devastating for the temple's reputation and made most former supporters more suspicious of the temple's claims that it was victim rights vendetta. Still, others remained loyal. On the day after Raderman's article was published, a member of the San Francisco Board of Supervisors was supported by the temple, who wrote a letter to Jimmy Carter. President Jimmy Carter. Defending Jones as a man as a high character, stating that temple defectors were trying to damage Reverend Jones' reputation with lies.
Mm-hmm.
Bold-faced lies. What's the matter?
Nothing. I gotta turn this down. So basically, he was in that ball that coerced all these people into following his beliefs and had them thinking there was people after him.
Pretty much like Hitler.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well,
Tim Stolen represented 3 members of the concerned relatives in lawsuits filed in May and June 78 against Jones and other temple members, seeking excess of $56 million in damages.
I can never see that.
Yeah, the temple representative Charles Gary filed a lawsuit against Stolen on July 10, 78, seeking $150 million in damages.
Wow.
Yeah, that's quite a bit. That's quite a bit. The conspiracism is, that was during July and August of 78. Where Jones sought legal services of Mark Lane and Donald Freed, both Kennedy assassination conspiracy theorists. Jones told Lane he wanted to pull an Eldridge Cleaver and return to the U.S. after repairing his reputation. In September, Lane spoke to the residents of Jonestown, providing support for Jones' theories and comparing him to Martin Luther King Jr. Lane then held a press conference stating none of the charges against the temple are accurate or true. Though Lane presented himself as a disinterested party, Jones was actually paying him $6,000 a month to generate such theories. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, Jones, his health significantly declined in Jonestown in 78. He was informed of a possible lung infection, upon which he announced to his followers that he had lung cancer, a ploy to foster sympathy and strengthen the support within the community. So if he was going down, they're all going down.
Yeah.
And maybe that's where this, I don't know, I could say this is where it came from because he was already planning this.
And he was abusing drugs. This just like
Valium,
Hitler.
Quaaludes, stimulants,
Yes.
barbiturates, yep.
Audio tapes of 78 meetings exhibit Jones complaining of high blood pressure, small strokes, weight loss of 30 to 40 pounds with a span of 2 weeks, temporary blindness and convulsions. And in his final month, gross teeth swelling of the extremities. During the meetings and public addresses, Jones' once sharp speak voice often sounded slurred. Words rang together, were tripped over. He would occasionally not finish sentences when reading typed reports over the community speaker system. After covering Jones for 18 months for the Examiner, he thought it was shocking to see his glazed eyes and festering paranoia face, to realize that nearly 1,000 lives, ours included, were in his hands.
Mm-hmm. Now, how many people were in charge of this cult? Was it like a lot?
He wasn't the head leader, and then by threatening him, he had his own posse that would man the gates with guns and arrows and, I mean, any way that they could kill someone who tried to get away.
Wow, that's terrible.
So they're being hostage and didn't even realize it.
Yep.
But
Leo Ryan, who represented California's 11th Congressional District, was friends with the father Bob Houston, a Temple member in California, whose mutilated body was found near the train tracks on October 5th, 76, 3 days after a taped telephone conversation with Houston's ex-wife, in which leaving the temple was discussed. Over the following months, Ryan's interest was further aroused by the allegations put forth by stolen Leighton and concerned relatives. What just happened?
What did you do?
It just
Went
that's
down
okay.
to-
Now we're to the Leo Ryan visit. He represented California. Okay, yeah, we got that. Okay. Concerned relatives and representatives including Tim and Grace Stolen, Stephen Anthony Casarius, Beverly Oliver, Jim Cobb, Sherwin Harris, and Carol Houston Boyd. And November 1778, when Ryan delegated arrival in Guyana Jones, attorneys Lane and Geary initially refused to allow them to access Jonestown. However, by the morning of November 17th, they informed that Jones and Ryan would leave for Jonestown in the afternoon regardless of his willingness. Ryan's party, accompanied by Lane and Geary, came to an airstrip at Port Katilma, 6 miles from Jonestown, some hours later. Because of the lack of the room on the plane, only 4 of the concerned relatives, Anthony, Beverly, Jim, and Carol, accompanied Ryan. Spear and the journalist to Port Katilma, ultimately to Jonestown, it felt that it was the presence of the Stones would be unnecessarily antagonize Jones, and Harris wanted to remain in Georgetown because he hoped to spend time with his daughter Leanne, who was staying at the temple's headquarters there. Let's see.
So bottom line, so many people were supposed to go there and meet with the priest that's running this whole thing. But there wasn't enough room on the plane. So only the congressman and a couple news reporters and their family went.
Wow.
They all drank the Kool-Aid. The ones that didn't have room for it survived.
So they ended up dying.
Oh, it's all luck of draw that you happen to be in the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that night they intended, the rest of Ryan's party was allowed in after sunset. That night they attended a musical reception in the pavilion while the party was received warmly. Jones said he felt like a dying man, ranted about government conspiracies and Marty Gorm as he decried attacks by the press and his enemies. They were reported. Ryan's delegation, everyone was happy and in good spirits.
now go down to the airstrip.
That's right.
Shooting.
Where is that? Just a little ways.
A little farther down.
I was just going to do that, like go down some more, because that other stuff's already. While most of Ryan's party began to depart on a large dump truck to Port Katilma airstrip, Ryan and Dwiner stayed behind in Jonestown where process any additional defectors. Shortly before the dump truck left, Temple loyalist Larry Layton, the brother of Deborah Layton, demanded to join the group. Several defectors voiced their suspicions about Larry's motives. Shortly after the dump truck initially departed, Temple Don Yajara Sly grabbed Ryan while wielding a knife. Wielding a knife.
Wielding.
Ryan was unhurt after others wrestled Slides to the ground.
He was trying to strong arm him with a knife.
Let's see, okay. He suggested the congressman leave Jonestown while he filed a criminal complaint against Sly. Ryan did so, promising to return later to the address dispute. The truck departing to the airstrip had stopped after the passengers heard of the attack on Ryan and took him as a passenger before continuing his journey onto the strip.
19 passenger. Wow.
Well, the entourage reached the airstrip between 4:30 and 4:45. The planes had not appeared as scheduled. The group had to wait until the aircraft was approximately landed at 5:10 p.m., and then the boarding process began. Larry was a passenger on the Cessna, the first aircraft to be set up for takeoff. After the Cessna had taxied to the far left on the airstrip, he produced a handgun and started shooting at passengers. He wounded Bagby and Gosney and tried to kill Dale Parks, who disarmed him after the gun was fired. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, because he didn't want him to get away and report what he was up to.
Some passengers on boarded the Twin Otter, a tractor with a trailer attached, driven by members of the Temple's Red Brigade security squad, arrived at the airstrip as well. Jones had instructed Larry Layton as well as those aboard the tractor to ensure that none of the members of Ryan's party nor defectors were to leave Jonestown.
It was caught on camera.
Before leaving Jonestown for the airstrip, Ryan had told Gary that he...
No.
It
was... The first few seconds of the shooting were captured.
The first few seconds of the shooting were captured on a U-Matic ENG videotape by NBC cameraman Bob Brown, who was killed along with Robinson, Harris, Temple defector Patricia Parks in a few minutes of the shooting. Ryan was killed after being shot more than 20 times.
Wow.
Spear, Reederman, Killerz, Steve Sung, Richard Dwyer, Charles Cross, Ron Javers, Carolyn Houston, Boyd, and Beverly Oliver were 9 injured in around the Twin Otter. After the shootings, Cessna's pilot, Tom Fernandez, along with the pilot and co-pilot at the time of the Twin Otter, Captain Guy Spence, and the first officer, Steele Rodwell Paul, as the injured Bagby, fled in the scene of Georgetown. The damaged Twin Otter and the injured Ryan delegated members who were left behind on the airstrip.
Wow.
So they invited these people there, and then they didn't want them to leave. So when then they tried to leave, they opened fire. First they tried getting them with a knife. That didn't go over. So then they tried bringing out the guns. Can you imagine being shot 20 times?
No.
After you were invited there to interview them?
I know.
That's insane. Insane.
Ryan stated that none of the 60 relatives he had targeted for interviews wanted to leave. The 14 defectors constituted a very small portion of Jonestown residents that since any imprisonment of the defectors had likely was because of the peer pressure and lack of physical transportation. And even if 200 of the 900 wanted to leave, I'd say you still have a beautiful place here. Despite Gary's report, Jones told him, "I have failed." Gary reiterated that Ryan would be making a positive report, but Jones maintained that all was lost.
Yeah. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, it didn't go the way you planned, so he shot him 20 times.
The concoction was prepared with the help of Jonestown in-house doctor, Larry Slachet, a former methamphetamine addict who got sober with the help of Jones, subsequently paid for his college education to become a doctor. Slachet had been researching the best ways for a person to die in advance of the foreseen mass suicide. About 30 minutes after his announcement, Jones made his own calling. All the members immediately to the pavilion.
And you missed the part about the Kool-Aid. We all got our Kool-Aid with us.
Yes. After Ryan's departure in Jonestown for Fort Connemara, Marceline made a broadcast on Jonestown speaker, giving assurance and settlers to return to their homes. During this time, Aides prepared a large metal tub with grape flavored Kool-Aid, which was misidentified as Kool-Aid. Poisoned with diaphragmine, promethazine, chloro. Whoa, there's a lot of big words here. And cyanide was one of them too. Diazepam. The concoction was paired. Okay, yeah. About 30 minutes after his announcement, Jones made his own calling, and all members immediately to the pavilion, which we all have our Kool-Aid here, but ours aren't drugged.
No, but he gave them this poison and told them it was Kool-Aid.
Yes.
That's what he did?
They thought it was another drill.
Yeah. They thought, yeah, because it tastes like Kool-Aid. They thought, yeah. A 40-minute cassette tape known as a death tape records parts of the meetings Jones called inside the pavilion early of November 18th. While the assembly gathered, referring Ryan's delegation journey back to Georgetown, Jones told the gathering, one of those people on that plane is gonna shoot the pilot. I know that. I didn't plan on it, but it's gonna happen. They're gonna shoot the pilot, and down comes the plane into the jungle, and we better not have any of our children left when it's over, because they'll parachute in here on us. So he was really trying to
manipulate them.
Yeah.
To make them scared that someone's coming after them.
It's just hard to believe that so many people would fall into the brainwashing.
Yeah.
When you got a good bullshitter,
Yeah.
you're gonna believe it. If you told you're stupid all your life, you think you're stupid.
Mm-hmm.
If you told them, I'm gonna save you, just stay with me, help me plant things, help me do this and that.
Try to make it a beautiful place, but they're really being brainwashed and poisoned.
But he had those drills, so they thought, oh yeah, another drill. Let's go along.
Jones urged temple members to commit to revolutionary suicide, such as an act had been hypothesized by Jones as far back as the temple's existence. You can go down in history saying you choose your own way to go, and it is your commitment to refuse capitalism and support of socialism. Let's make it a beautiful day, and later citing possible reincarnation. After several exchanges in which Jones argued that a Soviet exodus would not be possible, along with reactions by other temple members hostile to Miller, she backed down. However, Miller may have ceased dissenting with Jones, confirming that at one point the congressman had been murdered after his airstrip shooters returned. When the Red Brigade members came back to Jonestown after Ryan's murder, Tim Carter, a Vietnam War veteran, recalled having a 1,000-yard stare of weary soldiers. After Jones confirmed the congressman's dead, no dissent is heard on the death tape. By this point, the guards had taken positions around the pavilion. Directly after this, Jones stated the Red Brigades only made that sense anyway. According to the escaped temple member, Odell Rhodes, the first to take the poison were Roletta Paul and her 1-year-old infant. A syringe without a needle was fitted to use to squirt poison into the infant's mouth, after which Paul squirted another syringe into her own mouth, and Stanley Clayton witnessed mothers with their babies first approach the tub containing the poison. Clayton said that Jones approached the people to encourage them to drink the poison, and that after adults saw the poison begin to take effect, they showed reluctance to die.
It says it only took 5 minutes for the children to die. 5 minutes.
Well, it's quite a toxin. They put a lot of stuff in there.
So you couldn't even get the help you would need within 5 minutes.
Nope.
Wow.
Yep. Less for babies and estimated 20 to 30 minutes for adults. After consuming the poison, according to Rhodes, people were escorted down a wooden walkway leading outside to the pavilion. It is not clear if initially, though the exercise was another white night rehearsal, Rhodes reported being in a close contact with dying children. Can you imagine that?
No, I can't.
Lay down your life with dignity. Don't lay down with tears and agony, he said. Die with a degree of dignity. I tell you, I don't care how many screams you hear. I don't care how many anguished cries. Death is a million times preferable to 10 more days of this life. If you knew what was ahead of you, you'd be glad to be stepping over tonight. Boy.
Yeah.
I wonder how he made that speech.
It's evil.
Oh, yeah. Rhodes described the scene of both hysteria and confusion as parents watch their children die from the poison. He also stated that the most present quietly waitingly did their own turn to die, and that the many of assembled temple members walked around like they were in a trance. Survivor Tim Carter suggested that, like previous practice, that the day's lunch of a grilled cheese sandwich may have been tainted with sedatives. The crowd was surrounded by armed guards, offering members of the basic dilemma of death by poison or death by guard's hand. Cries and screams of children and adults are audibly heard on the death tape. As the temple members died, eventually guards themselves were called in to die by poison. So the guards had to go too.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Jones was found dead, lying next to his chair in the pavilion between two other bodies, his head cushioned by a pillow. His death was caused by a gunshot wound to his left temple. That guy's chief medical examiner, Leslie Mutu, stated consent was self-inflicted.
So the coward wouldn't take his own Kool-Aid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, he was high on drugs this whole time, it sounded like. He was on all them drugs. He's not even knowing what's going on. Well, you know, he knows what's going on, but he was on drugs.
Yeah. Carter, his brother, Mike, age 30 and 20, respectively, and Mike Provokes was 31, was given luggage containing $550,000 and $130,000 in Guyanese currency in an envelope, which they were told to deliver to the Soviet embassy in Jonestown. The envelope contained 2 passports, 3 instruction letters, the first of which was to Timofey, stating, "Dear Comrade Timofey, the letter of the instructions regarding our assets that we want to leave the Communist Party of the United Soviet Socialist Republics. Enclosed in this letter are letters which instruct the banks to send the cashier's checks to you. I am doing this on behalf of the People's Temples because we as a communists want our money to be our benefit for help oppressed people all over the world or in any way they decide to make King Body sees fit." Wow. So the letters included accounts which balances a total of $7.3 million.
I'm sure they were made to write those letters.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The brothers were given the task before the suicides began, and soon abandoned when they realized what had about to happen. Tim Carter desperately tried to search for his wife and son, discovering his son in time to witness him being poisoned and his wife killing herself in despair. At this point, Carter had a nervous breakdown, pulled away from the village, and he was equally distraught brother. Jones's sons, Stephen, Jim Jr., and Tim were in Georgetown with Jonestown's basketball team playing a tournament. In the moments before the suicide, Jones contacted Stephen and with orders to get revenge on enemies in the temple in Georgetown before committing suicide themselves. Stephen was not only refused to do so, but then contacted the temple headquarters and told them not to do anything without his permission. Wow.
80 people survived.
Yeah. Just before the final meeting of the pavilion, Gary and Lane were told to the community was angry with them and escorted to a house to accommodate visitors. According to them, they talked their way past 2 guards and made it to the jungle before eventually arriving in Fort Katama. While in the jungle near the settlement, they heard gunshots. This observation concurs with the testimony of Clayton, having previously fled to the jungle. They heard the same sounds as he was sneaking back into Jonestown to retrieve his passport. Rhodes was a volunteer to fetch a stethoscope and hid under a building. 2 more people were intended to be poisoned and managed to survive. Grover, 79, who was hard of hearing, and Miss announced his symbol on the loudspeaker, laid down in a ditch and pretended to be dead.
That's sad.
Heidi had thrashed 76, realized what was happening, crawled under her bed, only to walk out after the poisonings were complete. Wow.
So out of, it looks to be like 1,200 people that died, only 80 survived?
No, 918 people. That's how many bodies they recovered.
304 were children.
304 were children. The rest were women and older men.
And only 80 people survived.
The medical doctor examined.
Now, out of this 918.
Oh, okay.
That's how many were killed. 80 people survived because they were either sent on an errand or they fled before they were supposed to drink Kool-Aid, or they couldn't hear and missed the thing, or hid under their bed, or got shot but survived being shot.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because if you ran away, they shot at you.
Uh-huh.
Or they also had bow and arrows.
The bow and arrows,
Yep.
the poison, they shot it. You weren't going to make it out.
Nope. The medical examiner who visually examined over 200 bodies and told the coroner's jury that having seen needle marks at least 70, however, no determination as whether these injections initiated the poison or not. Plastic cups, flavor aid packets, and syringes, some needles were, and some without, littered the area where the bodies were found. Mutu concluded also that the gunshot wound to Annie Moore could not have been self-inflicted, though Moore had ingested a lethal dose of cyanide. Yeah.
This one here is about the survivors.
Yeah. Moore also left a note which said, in part stated, I am at the point right now so embittered against the world that I don't know why I'm writing this. Someone who finds it will believe I'm crazy or believe that the barbed wire does not exist in Jonestown. The last line, we died because you would not let us live in peace, is written in different colored ink, and other specific references made to events of the day. Moore also wrote Jonestown, the most peaceful, loving community that ever existed. I don't know about all that. Now they have pictures of those who died in Jonestown laid out at a memorial service.
They have very graphic pictures online.
Oh yeah.
Actual footage of all the caskets they had to dismiss the bodies in, and all the pictures. I mean, there's hundreds of pictures on there. It's just sad. There's a lot of kids in the mess.
5 teenage members of the parks involved.
But you know that his sons survived this.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Because they were at that game.
2 of his kids, yeah.
5 teenage members of the Parks boat families with one boyfriend followed the instructions of defector Gerald Parks to hide in the adjacent jungle until help arrived, and their safety was assured. Thereafter, the group was lost 3 days in the jungle and nearly died. One of them, Tom Bogue, had been wounded in the leg. Guyanese soldiers would eventually rescue him. So 918 dead, including Jones himself, were collected by the U.S. military. Guyana was then in Guyana. Then transported by military cargo plane, a location that had been previously used for mass processing from the dead. The last shipment of the bodies arrived early in the morning of November 27th. The base's mortuary was tasked with fingerprinting, identifying, and processing the bodies. The base resources were overwhelmed. Numerous individuals tasked with moving or identifying the bodies suffered symptoms, post-traumatic stress, in many cases, responsibility for cremation. The remains were distributed to the Dover area funeral homes.
Oh, wow.
They had to fingerprint all those people.
All 918 of them. Can you imagine, though, doing like those kids, like having to fingerprint little kids?
Were these 918 killed all at once over a span of time?
No, this is all the day he decided to do this.
Oh,
He
okay.
picked the day, he acted like it was another drill, he fed them, and somewhere I read that there were sedatives involved so that they wouldn't try and escape.
In August 2014, they never claimed cremation remains of 9 people from Jonestown. 4 of the remains have been returned to next of kin, and remaining 5 have not. Those 5 have publicity identified in the hope the family would claim the remains. Larry Layton, who had fired the gun at several people aboard the Cessna, was not initially found guilty of attempted murder in Guyanese court, employing the defense that he was brainwashed.
Yeah. I wonder how well that would work nowadays.
Acquittal in Guyanese court did not free Layton. However, he was deported back to the U.S. and arrested by marshals upon arrival in San Francisco. Layton could not be tried in the U.S. for attempted murders in Gosney. Instead, trialed under a federal state against assassinating members of the Congress, internationally protected people, Ryan and Donner. He was convicted of conspiracy, aiding and abetting the murder of Ryan and attempted murder of Dwyer. Paroled in 2002, Layton is the only person ever to be held criminally responsible for the events in Jonestown.
But they have all kinds of videos of how they survived.
Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff. You can documentaries and everything on this if you go on like YouTube and stuff like that. And what movie is it? There's a movie. It's called like Inside Jonestown or something like that.
It said the son that was believed to be involved was arrested in 2005.
He probably slipped up and talked about something.
Oh, wow.
But 2 of his kids survived.
It said in 2011, a memorial to them was erected at the cemetery. So in 2011, they did a memorial. That really wasn't that long ago.
There's movies out, Jonestown, The Life and Death of People's Temple, the Jonestown documentary about Jonestown. And then there's one called The Cult Massacre, One Day in Jonestown.
Yeah, I watched one on YouTube. It was really good.
Yeah. Yeah. Jonestown, Paradise Lost, but
Can you imagine changing your mind? You don't want to follow with these people, and they hold a gun to your head and say, "Drink it or get shot."
Yeah.
Which one you gonna pick?
It says there's a tourist attraction that arrived in 2025, paying $650 per person.
Wow,
that's crazy. That's expensive. To go to this tourist and visit, $650 per person.
That's crazy.
Well, the movie Cult Massacre, One Day in Jonestown, that's on Hulu, and it tells the story of the religious organization led by the infamous Jim Jones, who was set out to establish, the community, and ultimately the mass casualty left 918 dead, told by survivors and eyewitnesses, along with rare footage and rare Jones recordings. So that'd be something you'd have to definitely check out.
Yeah, it says they opened the old site as a tourist attraction, and it was scheduled to arrive in January 2025.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But the one that hid under the bed, how do you know they weren't going to go around shooting everybody to make sure they were dead? She took a gamble sitting there under that bed.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like there's quite a few films, Angie, about this.
Oh yeah, that's what I was reading. Yeah, there's like all kinds of documentaries and everything. But the one on Hulu, I think that's like one of the main movies.
Okay, I just got to that part. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, see right see right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched a good one. It was pretty interesting, but it was sad at the same time.
What should we do our next podcast on?
Did you have any more suggestions?
Let's see. We got Afia. I'm not for sure how to say your last name. Awasua. Do you have any suggestions on what our next podcast should be? Now we could do it on Manson, if you want to.
I thought we were going to do like.
I'm not for sure.
I have a guy written down, but I don't know where it is. It just popped up. No, those are the ones we did.
Oh yeah. How about you? You got a suggestion?
Yeah, there's gonna be I'll get back to you guys on that.
You have a suggestion? Maybe who do you think we should do a podcast on?
I don't know if you guys have already done this, but my personal favorite has always been Eileen Wuornos.
We already did her.
You already did her.
We already did her.
Yeah. Okay. I hope when you guys did her, you dug real deep, because I really
look. Her picture's right there.
Yeah, she is something.
Yeah. Have you ever watched the movie about her?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, we did her because I really enjoyed watching the footage on her.
How many times you gonna kill me? How many times you gonna want me to die? Eyes real big. Yeah, if anybody has any suggestions, don't forget we're on Podbean, YouTube, Facebook, if you're evil inside the mind of serial killers.
I was hoping someone would suggest something so it wasn't older stuff that people might have heard of now.
Do you guys like to do all the older stuff, or do you like more recent stuff too? Because
we do all kinds.
Nowadays there's just been serial killers popping up everywhere, and you wouldn't even know they were serial killers.
I had one written down.
Oh. We already did those ones. Here we go. Usually somebody has a suggestion, that's why we're kind of like... Hey.
What about Joseph Atkins from 1969 to 1985? He was executed at 99.
He murdered his half-brother, paroled, and later murdered his adoptive father and neighboring couple's daughter during a drunken shooting spree.
Oh, wow.
We need to do... How about this? Okay. Here's a teenage pact. "12-year-old Jasmine and her 23-year-old partner, Jeremy Stein, were involved in a tragic murder. Jasmine's family in a medicine hat canceled a nationwide attention legal debate and discussion on juvenile crime psychology and accountability."
Wow. And that was in Canada in 2006.
2006. I don't care.
I'm ready for a nap.
Write that down.
Okay.
Jasmine Richardson and Jeremy Stein.
Jasmine Richardson.
And Jeremy Stein. It's a true crime documentary, so we'll That's what we'll do.
Do you want me to write Canada or no?
No, that's all we need. So our next podcast, hang on, write this down. Our next podcast will be on Facts Porcupine Podcast. Do you have a suggestion before we get off here on what our next podcast should be? Our next podcast will be on April 5th. At 6:30, unless we do change the time, our date, it'll be on our podcast page, or our Facebook page. It's Pure Evil Inside the Mind of Serial Killers. And there's also one called K. Blasner, which is the serial killer page too. We are also on Podbean and YouTube. So, oh wait, no, we can't do April 5th. I'm sorry, it'll have to be April 4th, because April 5th is Easter.
That would be good, though, a good serial killer podcast on Easter.
Yeah, April 4th, I'm sorry, it's 6:30. I didn't even think about that, because April 5th is Easter. Okay, we will see you guys April 4th at 6:30.
Hope everybody has a good night.
Oh, this needs to be on the longer arm. Alright, I stopped it.
Okay.
I can't see up there.
Which one do we go to? You gotta
You
go
want me to go up there and read it? Because I'm having a hard time seeing that, too.
It's because it's
right there, yeah.
angle.
Right there. Edit and then
No. That's not right.
Jonestown Massacre. It was South streaming, and we went to.
I have to open the YouTube thing.
Can we get the paper out? How we did it?
Cold. Yeah, it's on the back page. This is like a weird angle. Alright, so.
See, if I would have to study the podcast so I would know what to talk about, because I had no idea what that was about. That's why I was trying to read it, but